Let's talk Paw Paws. I am Michael Judd. I'm the author of For the Love of Paw Paws, both the book and the online course. In this video, we are going to cover growing paw paws from seed, growing paw paws in pots, and transplanting paw paws, and of course, why would you want to grow paw paws? Lots of reasons. So I'm in the Paw Paw Patch here at Long Creek Permaculture Site. We're in the Blue Ridge Mountains of Maryland. We grow a lot of different unique, easy to grow fruits and nuts. Prime among them, the Paw Paw, for very good reasons. It is an absolutely beautiful shrub or small tree. It's very productive when you bring it out into the sun in protected conditions. You can get upwards of 35 to 50 pounds of very tropical tasting fruit in the north. It's enough reason for me. So what are the different ways to grow a paw paw? So paw paws are filled with beautiful brown seeds that are very viable, meaning that they germinate very readily when they're cared for properly. The proper care is to clean the seeds when you eat your paw paw. Clean them, put them in a Ziploc bag with a little bit of moisture and put them in your refrigerator, and you want to wait at least 3 months. You can wait longer. And when you bring them out, you have an option to either direct transplant that seed where you want it to grow, which can give you the strongest growing, healthiest tree possible. But it takes patience, it takes observation of that site, so it's a little bit more involved versus go ahead and germinate the seeds yourself. I do it on a heating mat. I cover this 14-day germination technique in my book and in the online course. So I won't get into that here. Just know that you can direct transplant your seeds or you can germinate themselves. So a direct transplanted seed has many benefits. It's never been disturbed. Its roots are completely at home in the environment. They will then be much stronger, more disease resistant, more productive. And you can grow paw paws in full sun right off the bat when you direct seed in an environment that also is conducive for paw paws. They do not need shading for the first couple years of their life if they've had ideal conditions to start. Now, the second option is to grow in pots. Here at Long Creek, we have a nursery and we grow our paw paws in at least 14-inch deep tree pots, right? This is only 1 year old, right? And look, you see the roots are coming out of the bottom already. So the paw paw has a very deep taproot that it does not like to have messed with. It's a very fleshy root that can break very easily. So the recommendation is to grow them in deep pots, and I ideally like to plant mine out the first year. So if I'm germinating my seeds in the spring, I'm growing it out in the pot, I then plant it in the fall. If not that fall, that early next spring. That way the roots aren't being restricted, they're not living in a pot longer than is good for the tree. The shorter the amount of time, generally any tree lives in a pot, the better. So when you're shopping for paw paws or any kind of fruit or nut tree, you're really shopping for root health, which means typically that they're young. So bigger is not better, especially when you're talking about paw paw. Now, a lot of people are having success in growing paw paws in what are called air-pruned beds. Basically, a box with a wire mesh on the bottom, ideally 18 inches deep with a really rich organic material. And as the roots reach down and they hit that mesh at the bottom, the air prunes the roots, which encourages the paw paw to send out more what we call feeder roots, more lateral roots. So that's popular. I'm a fan of following the paw paw's natural tendency to grow a taproot deep and not mess with that natural pattern. I also find that when I'm planting paw paws with a nice full taproot, is that they establish and are much more drought resistant in the first couple years of their life because they're able to go and continue that deep taproot to pull up moistures, minerals, nutrients from deep in the soil, whereas a air pruned tree will be more in a lateral surface area of the soil, which if it dries out is going to stress that plant in the first couple years of its life. So both have merit. It depends. I also like not to have to water my plants in pots during the summer, so I grow them in the deep pots in a shade house. That way I don't have to water and maintain them. An air pruned bed, you're going to have to maintain and keep making sure that it has enough moisture because it's going to dry out a lot more easily. So to each their own. Okay, so now transplanting. Transplanting pawpaws is possible. It's an art, and there's timing that's very important. So again, the pawpaw does not like to have its roots messed with. So that goes for transplanting as well. But typically, when people are thinking about transplanting a pawpaw, it's because they want to dig up one that is in the wilds or one that's growing in a patch, maybe in their vicinity. Now, typically, what that is a shoot from the mother plant, the mother pawpaw. So pawpaws will send out horizontal roots and then they'll send up shoots all around it, sometimes 10 feet away. Now, to dig that up, you really want to ideally be cutting and severing that horizontal root the season before. So typically in August, you want to come along in about 6 inches from your shoot that you want to dig up. You're cutting it all around it. What that does is it severs that horizontal root from the mother tree, and it then begins to encourage that shoot to begin sending out feeder and lateral roots, basically rooting itself, right? You're not digging it up then, you're just creating that cut so it can handle that shock by staying in place and no other movement. Then the following early spring, because pawpaws wake up late. So early spring is a perfect time. You want to do it right before they begin to wake up, right? So that they have that energy rising to grow. So carefully and dig up as much of that root ball as you can in the early spring. And then you want to either put that in a large pot and put it in the shade and let it sort of establish and take care of it for that next year in a shady location, sort of allowing it to deal with that transplant shock. Or you can go ahead and transplant it right to where you want it. Ideally, that spot has been conditioned. It has lots of organic matter, mulch, moisture. It's protected by the winds. It just has all of the ideal conditions for pawpaws, which again, I cover in my book and on the course. So these extra bits and pieces are out there if you want to dive deeper. This is just an outline. So if you do that, then I would also probably cut the pawpaw back. If it's any size to it, I would trim back, so it doesn't have so much leaf growth to have to try and maintain for that first season. But ideally, you're only digging up the very smallest pawpaws in this regard, ones that maybe only sent up their shoot like a year ago. The bigger, the harder it's going to be, the more time it's going to take for it to kind of reestablish those roots. So that's the nutshell. That's the pawpaw. In the options from seed, to transplant. My preference is somewhere between direct seeding, where that's realistic. If not, I grow them in the pots. I very rarely try to transplant the pawpaws. And also, if you're transplanting a sucker and you don't know the genetics, typically a lot of the wild pawpaws are just that. They're not selected. So your shoot may not even be that good of genetics. You may not be digging up and taking the effort to get that great a pawpaw. But you could graft those shoots. So a lot of times what I'll do is if I get a shoot that's a good 10 feet away from one of my trees, is I will graft it. And if there's room, I'll let it stay there and grow, or I'll dig it up and I'll transplant it. But there is the option to always graft those shoots as well. And if you have a wild patch, go ahead and thin it out so that there's only one shoot every 10 feet. And then you could graft those and you could actually transition what's a wild patch into a productive pawpaw orchard of cultivars. Okay, so why do you want to grow pawpaws? Well, we're here at the end of the season and we have one of our delicious cultivars of pawpaws. And pawpaws are this amazing custard fruit in the custard apple family, the sugar apple family. And they will not let you down. These are absolutely exquisite. They're very aromatic. They have flavors of pineapple, mango, banana. And being a cultivar, this has no bitter notes, very few seeds, absolutely delicious and nutritious. Lots and lots of good reasons to plant your paw paws. So good luck. Plant, grow, and enjoy life. See you.